Yo, how's it going, guys? Iron Farter here. Today, as you can see, we're going to be doing a challenge mode COX. So let's start off with some stats. First of all, I do recommend you have max combat stats. You will need at least 90 agility and 90 herb lore. Being max is always the best. For inventory and gear setup, you can pretty much match whatever I have to your best abilities. If you do have a T-bow, you do not need a blowpipe or a ballista. And if you do have an imbued heart E, that does make it much easier since your mage will not go down when you brew. But unfortunately, I do not have that on my Iron Man. For boots, if you have Guardian boots, I would suggest those. If not, you can use those Eternals or Prims. I like Eternals because they don't give any negative bonuses to anything, whereas Prims would bring down your mage stats, or you could just simply remove them, but just keeping it simple for me is the best. Let's get started. Challenge mode raids always have the same layout. If you are using a Sang or a Trident, you can be on the Lunar Spellbook. If you have these runes with you, Death, Astral, Smoke, and Mud runes, you'll be able to cast Humidify for the burn and to fill up vessels in case you need to make potions. You can use Avenge, and you can use a water spell in case you get trapped in the firewall simply by equipping your Sangstaff or Trident. I will be I will not be prepping this raid, which is why I have this set up. If you do hit double zeros with your Dragon Warhammer spec, I do suggest that you just leave the raid and start over again. I only hit one spec, it will still be tough, but we'll manage just for the sake of the video. For Tecton, if you have a crush weapon, that would be ideal. If not, just use your Grazi, Blade of Saildor, or whatever weapon you're using. I have a scythe, so I put it on crush. And as you can see, I'm still barely hitting because I only hit one Dragon Warhammer spec. You can turn off your run and your prayer to save some prayer here. And you're gonna walk in a rectangle form so you don't get hit by those flying lava that come at you. Tecton will stop smashing his anvil and he will come back towards you. You can turn your run and your prayer back on. I apologize for my mouse clicks. I just downloaded OBS and I'm not very familiar with it, if I'm gonna be honest, so we'll have to manage. I would recommend that you eat up because Tecton will hit you. but I'm going to risk it just so because I don't have any more super combats. I am an Uber donator, so I have a prayer renewal automatically, so I do not need to keep the enhance with me. If you do have extra space, it always is a nice idea to carry it around. If not, that's perfectly fine. You do want to take 2 overloads. Now for crabs. To get rid of the black crystal, you just have to let it hit a white crab. The crystals will come out from here and always go to the north. So that takes care of the black crystal. Next, we're going to go for the blue crystal, which has to be killed with melee. If you do not have a dragon warhammer, you can pick up the hammer from there just to smash the crabs and keep them in place. If you do not smash them, they will just simply follow you. Now for the yellow crab, for the yellow crystal, you have to mage the crab. This will take some time for you to get the hang of it, but once you get it done, it's one of the easiest rooms, if not the easiest. So don't worry and just keep on practicing. Always look out for boulders when you're passing from here, as those will give you extra points. And if you do not have full HP while you're running by, you can switch to your mage gear and try to heal up on the scavengers. But it's not usually worth wasting the time just to stand there and heal. You're going to drop all of your supplies. Do not drop any items in case you DC. You don't want to lose those. You'll pick up a hatchet and a tinderbox. Gonna start cutting some trees. You will need roughly 4 inventories if I remember correctly. But either way, you just fill up an inventory, chuck it right into the brazier, and that's it. You don't have to drop them or stack them, just simply throw them in there. Alternate between the 2 front braziers. You don't have to put any logs in the other 2 in the back, especially not the one with the ice fiend, because that will shut off your fire even quicker. You don't have to bring 2 staminas. One is more than enough, but I bring another one because I do not need all the brews and it just makes it easier for me. So you could run around doing shamans, or right now I even took a brew sip, stamina sip. Yep, I was correct. 4 inventories was enough. After the first sip of that overload, you can drop it as you will no longer need it. You want to move at least 2 tiles from the snowballs that come at you. Otherwise, you may get hit and it may freeze you, which will lead to you getting hit even more. You can usually do 2 to 3 blowpipe hits, depending on your timing, but you can do just 2 to be on the safe side. Next up, we have shamans. I do recommend that you have a Sandfew or an anti-venom. I'm an Uber donator, like I said, so I cannot get venomed. Due to the fact that I bring 2 staminas, I just constantly run around here. Makes it much easier so you don't get hit by the venom balls that come at you. But if you do just stand and try to move away from the venom, you might be a bit too late and you will get hit by them. You can use a blowpipe spec here to heal up if you have to. It's not mandatory, but if you feel more safe, feel free to go ahead. Depending on my RNG later on at Muddiles and the Mystics, I might have to prep. And if I do, that'll just be better for the video, so you guys can see how to make all the potions. And that's it for the first room. Next up, the first room on the second floor is going to be Vanguards. That was probably the most difficult room for me to learn, as it is for most players, but once you get the hang of it, it is pretty simple and straightforward. The most important thing you want to do is keep all of the Vanguards within 40% HP of each other. You're going to want to rotate between all 3 combat forms. Let's see which one we have first. We have the Ranger, so that's going to be melee. A Dragon Warhammer spec is always nice on it. That one is melee, so you're going to mage it. That is mage, so you're going to range it. You can only stand under the range Vanguard while being safe. All the other ones will just move and attack you. That's why I like to follow the Ranger, so you can use all 3 combat styles if needed. I'm gonna get hit by that, okay. All of my Vanguards are roughly at 70% HP. So next up I'm going to be going for the Ranger over there. My client is lagging slightly due to me streaming right now or recording. can also safe spot the melee. After this round, I should be able to kill each Vanguard individually. You always want to be aware of the other Vanguard's HP. That one's at 49 HP, so I don't want to get that one too low. You can always click on them while they're moving. That's at 35. So I can kill this one. If you get them out of the 40% range, they will all heal back to full HP. Something that's nice that I learned much later than I should have. When you brew down, your stats restore back up with the overload every 15 seconds. So at 230, 215, 2. So you can drink 2 brew sips and your stats will restore back to the normal level, except for the mage, which is why I always like to bring an imbued heart E. But like I said, I do not have one on my Iron Man. And that's it for Vanguards. They sometimes drop an overload, which is nice because you can swap it out for your 3. That way you'll have 4 overloads, 4 doses, which makes you safe for the end because Mutadiles can be very brutal and it might take you some extra time. Unless you have a T-bow, you can still get hit a lot, but you will kill it pretty fast. You're going to want to get around 3 inventories other than the one that you have now. So I'm going to have on the ground around 3 piles of 10 to 12 cavern grubs. You do not need a lockpick. You can even kill scavengers in the raid to get a lockpick, but I just carry it with me as it speeds things up. Next up, we have Vespula, which is why we need the Ballista, or if you have a T-bow, then you are a lucky man. Again, no boulder, so we can just skip that. We are using our overloads right now, so we can try to heal up while we're running. I did not heal, that's unfortunate, but that is okay. You're gonna pray range. You can usually get 3 attacks on the portal before Vespula starts to attack you. And then you're going to hide behind this Lux Grub. It is on the eastern side of the room. And like I said, you always have the same layout in challenge mode. So you can memorize these. Even if you're not in a challenge mode and you have a different layout, you always want the Lux Grub that's closer to like the corner of a wall. You'd never want to go to the open one because you will get hit constantly. My overload's at 345, which is why I drank another brew sip. I'm back to 120. Vespula will always drop you a prayer enhance and two brews, the Xerix aids. So that should help you heal up to full HP and get you an extra brew. 315, so I drank another brew. The 3-minute mark is coming up, so I drank more brews. If you have a T-bow, this is much easier and much quicker. Next up we have Tightrope. You can kill the rangers. I just ignore them. I put on my melee tank and just cross over, get the key, and come back. I feel like it's a waste of time. Just make sure to keep above 80 HP or you can kill them. It's more points, but I'd rather just go for a quicker raid. Ancient Wyvern Shield has high range bonus, so high range defense, so you want to wear that. Next up, we have the Guardians, which is why you will need a pickaxe. You want to make sure that it is on Crush or Smash. I forgot to fill up my stamina, but that is okay since I have an extra stamina. If you have your special attack, go ahead and use that. Do not use your overload right away, just save it until you're on like a quarter HP of the last guardian. If you do not have a stamina and you are running low on run, you can do this method. It saves you a lot of run, but it is slightly slower. You want to always keep 2 tiles between you and the guardian, because that falling rock that we saw just a couple seconds ago, if you're only 1 tile away, it will hit you and it can hurt you pretty bad. If you want to bring less switches as well, you can trade out all these amulets for an amulet of souls. It is maybe a bit more expensive than all 3 of these with less stats, but you're getting an extra 2 inventory spots. Items like the ancestral hat is not important. I just bring it for a better mage bonus. You can also just leave that out and keep your face guard or Bandos helmet or whatever helmet you're using. I forgot to take a sip of the overload, so now I will have to wait a little bit because Vasa will hit you for a percentage of your current HP. You do not want to have high HP because it will hit you even higher. So right now I'm gonna get hit maybe a 42 or so. Yep, 41. Oh, gotta change back to your blowpipe. Vasa will throw rocks at you just like that. The crystals are very weak to stab weapons, however I do not have a stab weapon on me, and I don't think you should bring one if you have a scythe, but if you have a Grazi or a Dragon Hunter Lance, these will die pretty quickly. You can usually do around 2 blowpipe hits and then move before the next rock comes at you. If Vasa is coming towards you, you want to make sure you do not run under it because you will take a lot of damage. And if you have a twisted bow, this is much, much quicker for you to kill it. Blowpipe can be pretty slow, and keep in mind that I full Serenic, which is speeds it up for me, but it's still pretty slow. I wasn't counting how many phases it's been, but I think I'm going to get teleported. Okay, not yet. I'm going to get teleported and the damage will be done to me again like the first time after Vasa leaves this crystal. That's why you never want to eat up to high HP, because it will hit you for a percentage of your current HP. So if I was at 99 HP, it would hit me like a 90 or so. But I'm at 27, so I'll get hit maybe a 25 or so. After you get teleported, you can take a brew sip just to be on the safe side. That was much quicker than it usually is, so I'm happy about that. This also drops 2 brews for you. I'm going to drop the stamina because I only have 1 dose of a overload. A twisted is a ranging potion, so I might need that to finish off the raid before entering Ulm. Again, I have no boulder, so I'm just going to skip that and keep going. Again, no heals. Unfortunate. You want to use your salve amulet here. If you're lucky, this mystic will be too far away and it won't hit you at this safe spot. But it was pretty close this time, so you're gonna have to tank 2 mystics. Overload's about to reset, so I'm not gonna eat unless they hit me like that. You can try to heal on the mystics with a blowpipe spec, but they have high defense, so I usually try to avoid that. And instead, I do heal on the small Muttadial, since you can hit pretty high on that. Need to get my stamina. In case you did have to prep, I might have to, depending on how hard Muttadials hit me. You can hit constant 30s on you if you're unlucky. So you will have the seeds here, and the scavengers were just at the room before, so you can get all your supplies here. You don't have to worry about carrying them earlier on. Switch back to your anguish. You never want to be in the melee range of neither the small Muttadial or the large one. You can freeze this one if you're on Ancients using a Kodai, for example, but you don't have to since it's such low HP and low defense. It's just extra points at this point. But you do want to freeze the big one, and I'll get over that once we get there. So far, we didn't get hit that hard, so we're off to a good start. Let's just hope we can stay that way. 3-minute mark for the overload, so I took a brew sip just to be safe. You're going to freeze it with your Wyvern shield, which is why you bring it with you. That's pretty much the main reason. At around 47%, maybe 45, it looks like it's 45%, it will start to walk towards it there to heal up, which is why I freeze it beforehand. That way you can stay in this spot, because if it walks halfway then you freeze it, it will come back and melee you. But I'm safe right here, which is why I froze it beforehand. So far I've been pretty lucky, I didn't have to eat that much. You will sometimes use 4 full brews once it's constantly hitting you 30s and 20 plus. I got lucky and I do not have to prep since I have more than enough brews. I probably won't have to use any brews until I'm on the head phase. It's always RNG and depends on like how hard you're trying, I guess. If you're running head tick by tick or not. If you're using a trident, I do recommend you run head tick by tick since you have no heals. With a Sang, it is much easier since you can heal. Do not use preserve like I just clicked it because you are using an overload. You can mark the tiles the same way that I did. You're gonna do 2 Dragon Warhammer specs, then change to Mage. Ohm will always start off the very first phase using a Mage attack and then a range attack after that, which is why I knew to change to range right after that. I splashed, which is why Ohm didn't turn its head all the way there. It turned so I can attack and run. It's gonna turn all the way over there. That's it. Bear in mind that I'm not doing this tick by tick perfect. If you do, you will not get hit for even a single hit. If you are still new and you're learning, I do recommend you would eat in this case, but I know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to skip that. If you have these coming in your lane, I do recommend you move out, or you can try to run through them, but just skipping them is the easiest. Once you get this, you want to go to the where the teleport location is. You get that message, then you can move. Then after that, you have the crystals. You do not want to stand on top of the crystals. It can hit you for 30 plus or so. Since I am talking a lot, I'm not very focused on running the head properly, which is why you can see I'm making a lot of mistakes, but we're just here for the general overview. This is why you have those runes. You got that burn with me, you use the humidify, and it puts out the burn. The burn will drain your stats over time, and you'll just keep taking damage for a minute or so. That's it for the mage hand. You can switch to melee. We got the teleports. If you turn the head at the proper time, you will not get any of the special attacks. For example, right now, the special attacks will go from crystals to the lightning to the portals. I didn't get any crystals because I turned the head right after the portals came in. See, I got no crystals now again because the head just turned. When you're doing the melee hand, you want to try to focus the most on skipping the teleport phase because that's just wasting your time since you can't attack the hand. If you want to run the melee hand without getting any damage, you're just gonna do one hit and go back, but I mean that's way too slow and I have more than enough brews, so that's just a waste of time. Which is why I do 3 hits. So like you saw throughout this phase, I got 3 of those balls that came at me. First one, you get a green message, that means it was range. The next one was a purple ball, sorry. You get a blue message, that means you gotta pray mage. And the last one was a red ball with a red message, you pray melee. Oh, there it is. Now we're on the second phase, so we're gonna put our Dragon Warhammer on. Get ready to do 2 specs and then switch back to mage. You can use your Wyvern Shield for more DPS. My client is starting to get very laggy after recording for 45 minutes or so now. You can run through those, but I'm just going to move away to be on the safe side. If you are not going to be running head, then I do recommend that you prep so you get enough brews because you will get hit much, much more than I am right now. I'm not running head perfectly, but I'm taking much less damage than you would if you weren't running. And because this is a challenge mode, you have to do this under a certain amount of time. I believe it is 80 minutes for solo. I could be wrong, but if you do not complete it in time, the given time, then you will not get extra points. Because challenge mode, you'll get, I want to say 5% more points when you complete the raid. But if you do not finish it quick enough, then you will not get those extra points. This is the third and final phase. In this phase, the melee hand will actually have a healing effect this time, which will come right after the portals, the teleports, and before the crystals. So it'll become the fourth phase. You always want to move away from these falling crystals, at least 2 tiles, or else you will get hit for damage. That's the healing phase right there. You can see like an infinity sign moving around. So if you hit the melee hand at that time, you will just be healing the hand. You won't do any damage. That is the beauty of the Sang. You always want to move from those falling crystals because they will damage you. I'm at full HP, so I can try to heal after if I take damage from the melee hand, so we'll just do this for now. The third phase, you have to kill them at approximately the same time. You will see like the regenerating life bar once we're done, and I will focus more on that. That's the healing phase. If you do make the head turn, then you can skip the healing phase. I wasn't really focused, so I just didn't. We're going to skip the portal phase now because I made the head turn on time. That's getting low HP. You don't want to kill it because the mage hand is still kind of high HP. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's why you do not type while you're raiding. So melee hand should die very soon, and I will show you. So that is the regenerating bar. If you do not kill the mage hand in that time, the other hand will come back to life, which is why you want to time them together. You're going to hear my mouse clicking a lot for this. As you can see, there's a lot of running. You want to stand on top of those one of those pools, or else you will take around 25 damage. Oops. I wasn't paying attention to those falling crystals, but it's better to tank the damage from the pool than to get hit by 2 crystals, that's for sure. We didn't get to see a firewall this raid, but if you were to get one, if you have those runes that I said at the beginning of the raid, you just put on your stank staff and you click anywhere on one of the firewalls, and you'll use a water spell to take it out so you can run out of the wall. And that's it. And we did not get a purple. Sad days. So that's it for the raid, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you are ever online and have any questions, my PMs are always open. There, almost any other staff member will be able to help you just as much as I can. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Take it easy, boys.